I'm getting started early today. I'm going into the office, so I just wanted to jump on and share this with you guys really quick. Hope you guys had a good night. We had a little bit of a storm this morning, which kind of led into my little thing here today. It's kind of funny. Well, it wasn't funny. First thing this morning, getting woken up by the wind and storms. But God's timing is always funny. So every day I use a couple of different devotionals to get my time started with the Lord, and I kind of bounce back and forth. And yesterday I didn't use Unshakeable by Caine, but my Bible was open. The book was open to yesterday's devotional, and the name of that devotional was Default to Trust. And it just kind of made me sit for a minute because I was woken up about 4 a.m. to crazy winds outside, and I knew a storm was coming, but I wasn't woken up by the rest of the night. And I have a couple of big fears in my life, and one of those is thunderstorms, tornadoes. I'm not afraid of thunderstorms. I just don't like all the racket that they bring. But I hate the thought of tornadoes. Like, it is a huge fear of mine. So I thought it was really timely of the Lord to let me see this, because this morning about 4 a.m. I was jolted awake, and instead of just stopping and praying for a minute, I phoned a friend, my husband, and I said, wake up, the winds are blowing crazy again. I didn't stop to think that there are no sirens going. Our phone alarms were not going off with tornado warnings. It was just my automatic default to fear. So I get up and watch the news for a little bit and did not stop and pray through it or anything. But so about an hour later, I guess, after everything, I'd gone back to sleep for a little bit because I saw on the news that it was not a tornado. It was just crazy winds. And so I went back to sleep for a little bit, and then woke up and went and did my study time, and here was Default to Trust. And I just thought that was funny. The verse that goes with it is Luke 12:25. Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all of your cares on him because he cares about you. It doesn't say just cast the little things. It doesn't say just cast the things that are hard to think about. It says cast all of your cares on him. The good, the bad, the ugly. So Isaiah 65:24 came to mind this morning. I found this verse a few years ago, and it says, before they call out, I'll answer. Before they finish speaking, I'll have heard. And I love that, and that brings me such comfort. I just wish I would have defaulted to that instead of jumping to, oh my gosh, wake up, get downstairs. No. Before we've even called out, the Lord has already heard us. He already knows what's on our hearts. So I just thought that was really cool, really timely of the Lord to remind me to default to trust. So I woke TA up. Sorry, babe. Because of my fear. And it just kind of made me think too, if I would have defaulted to trust first, he would have gotten that extra hour of sleep. I would have gotten extra minutes of sleep. I mean, there was no sirens going, nothing. Just my own default to fear instead of my default to trust. The same thing I think is when we have a fear and we default to that fear, and then we automatically start talking to our friends instead of praying about it and talking to God. There's been several times, probably a lot of times, that I've started to think, oh, I'm going to text Tracy about this issue. And I can literally start texting and I can feel the Lord saying, that's mine. Don't give that worry to her. And I was thinking about this morning, and it's just like that storm. There was no reason to wake TA up. It wasn't a tornado. It was strong winds, which, could have messed up the backyard of the fence or whatever. But there was no reason to drag him awake in my storm of fear. And the same thing with so many of our issues. I feel like there's times where if I just go to God first and default to trust and default to prayer instead of default to my friend, that he, like he says in Isaiah, before they call out, I'll answer. Like he already knows. He is already there. Before they finish speaking, I'll have already heard. So instead of bringing my friend or my husband into my personal storm, my personal fear, I need to go to God, default to trust, and ask him what his perception of the issue is. I think if I would have just woken up this morning and said, oh, freaking out, there's a storm, Lord, calm the storm. Lord, calm my fear in this storm. TA would have had an extra hour of sleep. So, but I think it's relevant to life. So I think today we just have to make a choice and a plan. When we've talked about other things this week, I'll have people comment and say, well, it's so hard to do trust. It's so hard to remember to forgive. But it really is a choice and a plan and a practice. And we just have to get into that practice. I mean, I've been walking with the Lord for a really long time and I still default to fear instead of defaulting to trust. So today I just encourage you to default to trust, cast all of your fears and your cares to the Lord, and then take those thoughts captive and let him take that fear from you. And then go to him first instead of automatically going to your friends for their wisdom or their advice. So love you guys, and I'm praying for you today. I love this word this morning. So if you're just jumping on, I got started a little bit early, so I'll share it in my news feed, but just remember, default to trust, and trust the Lord, not your fear. So God, I just thank you for this moment. God, I pray that you will just wrap us with your love, your patience, your grace. God, I pray that you will just do a work in us, God. Help us to default to you, default to trusting in you, God. Not our fears, not our rationalization of our circumstances, not our perception of things, but just default to trusting you, God, and your will for our lives. Pray that you would help us to go to you first, and that it would just be an automatic thing, God. Even at first thing in the morning, 4 a.m., in a storm, that we would just default to trusting you, God, instead of the newscasters. Lord, just help us to rest in you, Jesus, every day. Pray for all those requests out there. I know there's several. God, I pray that you would just bless each of these that are watching this morning or later today. Pray that you would just give them peace that only you can bring, God. Pray that they would find salvation in you, that they would find hope in you, and that they would just rest in your grace and your mercy, God. I pray. Amen. All right, so if you missed this, sorry I got on a little early, so I'll be patient. I'll post it on my news feed, and I will see you guys tomorrow at the regular time. Bye. I'm waving at you guys.